Crafty fam, it's Alex Vanover and welcome back to my craft room. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sublimate on a t-shirt. If this is your very first sublimation project, then this is going to be perfect for you because I go super slow and step by step in this tutorial. So let's get started.
So the first step to sublimating a t-shirt is of course to decide what design you're going to use on your shirt. And if you really want to create your own designs, I recommend getting started on canva.com. They have a really great free plan that has a bunch of resources. You can design a lot of your own stuff on here. I use Canva all the time and I actually do pay for the pro plan because I use it so much. But to get started with sublimation, I recommend starting out with just using a pre-made file so that you can get comfortable with the sublimation process. And then at some point, if you want to design your own designs, I totally understand. So I'm going to start out here on designbundles.net and I'm going to show you where you can find some free sublimation designs. So if you're on the homepage of designbundles.net, you can go up to the free designs button. And then you can actually filter the designs by free sublimation designs, which is really, really helpful. And typically when you're looking for a sublimation design, I recommend you look for a PNG file type. That's the best way to get started because these designs hold a transparent background, so you're not going to have to worry about a big clunky background and deleting it and stuff like that. So I'm going to scroll down until I find this really cute pumpkin spice design. I guess it's on the second page. Yes, I thought this one was so cute. The pumpkin spice and everything nice design. And I love the shading because that's something that you can't do with vinyl. So I get really excited to sublimate designs like this that I can't make with other mediums. So at this point, when I'm recording this video, this design is free. It may not always be free, but it is right now. So that's what we're going to go with. And next we need to download it. Then once it downloads in the folder, we'll need to open it up and extract it from the zipped file. So I'll right click and then choose extract all. And then I like to keep all my craft files in the same place, even though this is a folder called SVGs. Even though this isn't an SVG, that's okay. I like to keep them all in the same place. And whenever I save a file in my craft files, I like to right click and create a new folder for it so that it's saved in all the same format as my other designs. And I like to save it as DB because it came from Design Bundles. And I like to add the word sublimation so that I know what kind of file it is, since I'm sure I have other pumpkin spice designs saved in this folder. So I'll click it to open it. And then I'll select it so that my designs will extract there. Now you may be thinking that I'm gonna go into Cricut Design Space to print and cut this design, but I'm actually not. And the reason that I don't do that is because Cricut Design Space's print and cut size is actually pretty limited. So I like to do this just from the Photos app on my computer because I think that that's a really easy way to get started. So I'm gonna open up the PNG file type and it'll default open in my Photos app. But another important thing about sublimation is that you always need to mirror or flip your image 180 degrees so that you can put it down correctly onto the design. So I'm actually going to save this in a flipped version. You can also change your printer settings to flip every single image. I haven't done that to my printer yet, so I'll show you how to do this in case your printer is not set up this way. So under this drop-down menu under Edit and Create, I'm going to choose Edit. And you'll see this version of the editor opens up and I'm actually just going to click the flip button right here. And that's going to flip it 180 degrees, so it's super easy. And then I'm going to click Save a Copy. And I'm going to save it in the exact same folder as my other design. That way I always know that I can find it. And if I ever want to use the non-flipped version for something else, it'll still be really easy to find. And whenever I flip a design like this, I like to save it as underscore flipped. That's just my little system for telling myself what's going on. So once the copy is saved, then we can open up the print button and change some settings. So the first thing you need to double check is that your sublimation printer is selected. If you have a regular inkjet printer, make sure that that's not the one that you've selected here. And then you can do some playing around with orientation and stuff like that, depending on what your design, the way you can make your design the biggest. Under paper type, I always like to choose premium presentation paper matte. That's the option that I get here on my PC because obviously I'm using a PC. Your options may be a little bit different if you're using a Mac, but that's because the sublimation paper that I'm printing on is matte, so I find that I get a better print this way. Then I like to play around with these 3 different settings just to make sure that I make my design as large as possible. I am using the Epson ST EcoTank 2000. So it is an EcoTank printer, but it only prints 8.5 by 11, like the size of a page. So I like to make my design as large as possible to take up as much room on the shirt as I can. So one of the settings I like to play with is the fit, and I can experiment with shrinking to fit and then fill page. And obviously fill page makes it a whole lot larger, but you can click around on some of these and change them and see if that makes any difference for you. But one really important setting that you need to change is under more settings. And that is under output quality. You really want to change it from standard to high. And this is going to take it way longer to print when you click the high quality, but it makes a huge difference in your print quality. So I definitely recommend that you change the output quality to high. Then we'll click OK. And we'll be back to our regular printer page. So let me head over to my Sublimation printer and I'll show you how to set it up with the paper and all of that good stuff. And then I'll come back to my computer and press print.
So in order to print out your sublimation design, next you'll need sublimation paper. I'm going to be using sublimation paper, which seems to be pretty popular, but I'm sure there's lots of other great brands out there. This is just the only one that I've tried so far. So once you grab your sublimation paper, next you need to load it into your printer. So I'm going to be using my Epson ST2000 that I got from 143vinyl.com, and of course it is converted for sublimation, which means that before I put any other printer ink in this printer, I put sublimation ink in it, and that's all that's ever been in this printer. But you're just going to load your paper the way that works for your printer. So mine has a tray in the back and I just stick my paper in between the blue guides. And then as soon as I insert some paper, I do have to confirm that the premium presentation paper matte setting is what I want on my printer. So I'll just confirm by saying okay. And then I'll go back to my computer and press print so that I can print out my design. So once your print is finished, then you can move over to your heat press and get ready to press your sublimation design. So before we get into actually sublimating, let's talk about t-shirts first because this part is really important. So one of the requirements for sublimation is that you use a polyester coated or a piece of fabric that's made out of polyester. And when you're talking about shirt blends, bare minimum, I would recommend that your shirt or garment is at least 65% polyester. And this is going to ensure that your ink is nice and bright and colorful on your blank. And the closer that you get to 100% polyester, the brighter that your ink will be. So just keep that in mind when you're taking a look at fabrics and things like that. I am actually going to be using a Cricut Infusible Ink Blank, which is 95% polyester. So that's a great option. If you can get those on sale, you can get them for a really good price. I've also searched Jiffy shirts, and I will put some brands that I like down in the description of the video that I can link to for you if you need a recommendation for some sublimation shirts as well. So to get started, you'll see a few different things going on here. First of all, I do have a pressing pillow down on my press because I have just found that a pressing pillow always makes for a better sublimation press, so I always use one every time. Then I'm going to lay my shirt on top of my pressing pillow, and I'll begin by using a lint roller over top of it. And the lint roller just gets rid of any lint or any dust that could be on the blank because that actually can take away from the quality of your press.
So you just want to lint roll the area that is actually going to have the sublimation print over top of it. And next it's time to lay the print down on the shirt. So you'll remember that we mirrored the print when we printed it, so we need to lay it with the ink side down onto the shirt. So I want to lay it maybe about 1.5 inches or so underneath this shirt because it is a V-neck shirt. So I want to go a little closer to the top than I would with a typical collared shirt. And then another really important part about sublimation is that you always need to use heat tape with every single press. So this is Cricut heat tape, but you can use any brand of heat tape that you have. You can also get it on Amazon. I'll link it for you in the description as well. And you'll want to put a piece of tape basically on every side of the print. And the reason for that is because if you were to have any movement at all of your print during the pressing process, you can get what's called ghosting, or kind of like a blurry outline all the way around your press. And if you don't want that, you want to be sure to use heat tape. So I have a few pieces of heat tape that I pre-cut. So I will tape it down on each side. Lift up the shirt and see if I have done a good job of centering my design. So once it's taped down, I'll pull it up and see if I like the placement. I think it might be a little bit low, so I think I'm going to put it back down on my press and bring it up just a little bit. And we'll double check one more time. Well, it kind of looks the same. So I changed my mind. We'll do one more placement. Be sure to bring it up actually a little bit more. All right, that's looking a little bit better. So then when you're happy with the placement of the print on your shirt, next you'll want to position it over top of your pressing pillow. So you'll just have to feel and make sure that the whole print is on top. And I am using a 10-inch by 10-inch pressing pillow. Next, you need butcher paper. And butcher paper is really important because whenever you're using sublimation paper, you can get what's called blowout, or ink coming through the paper that can get onto the top of your press, or in my case, my Teflon sheet, or it can actually go through the shirt. So I'm going to put one piece of butcher paper inside the shirt and another piece of butcher paper over top of the print to make sure that if I get any blowout, it's not going to mess up the shirt. Use this one on top. And lastly, I forgot to mention the settings on my heat press. So the settings that I use are recommended by the brand of sublimation paper that I'm printing on. And I'm using, like I said, a sub paper, which recommends that you sublimate at 400 degrees. And for textiles or shirts, it recommended between 25 and 40 seconds. So I have my heat press set to 400 degrees for 35 seconds. And the pressure is going to be a little bit higher because I have a pressing pillow in my press. So I'm actually going to loosen my pressure a little bit because all it's required is medium pressure. So I just did about a half a turn on the top of my heat press to loosen that up. And now we'll press for the full 35 seconds. Then we can remove the blowout paper, and we'll want to make sure that our design is cool enough to touch before we peel off the paper. And now I'll peel off the print to see the results. Oh my gosh, y'all. It always turns out so good every time. It's like magic. Check out how bright it is on that shirt.
If you're not already a part of one of my crafty fams on Facebook, I would love to have you join one of my Facebook groups. So I'll be sure to put links to both down in the description below. And if you make anything using my tutorials, whether it's sublimating on a t-shirt or something else, and you share it out on Instagram, be sure to use the hashtag DIYAlex because I love seeing what you guys are crafting. And if you've made it this far in the video, then I really want to get to know you on social media. So please be sure to find me at DIYAlexVanover on pretty much all major social media platforms. I'll also put direct links to my profiles down in the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more just like it, then be sure to subscribe to the DIY Alex YouTube channel and be sure to ring the bell so that you get notified every single time that I put out a new video every single week. But don't wait for next week's video. Be sure to check out this one next. Or if you want to make your DIY dreams come true, be sure to check out this video. I know that you're going to love it.